Let's look at our minifigs. Here we see Thug Bob and Officer Fred. I don't know why Officer Fred has found it necessary to gun down Thug Bob, but let's assume he has a perfectly valid and justifiable reason to do so. I will use this character sheet for both Bob and Fred. These stats are reasonable for starting characters, but I only gave them combat skills because I will only use them for combat. This is a deadly starting character sheet, because I invested heavily into the equipped trait and bought some powerful weapons. Also, I am now going to give you some advice that I should have given you in the point by character creation video. To help ensure balanced starting characters created with the point by system, GMs should require starting characters to have at least 10 or 15 skills and no skill with a level of more than 4. Otherwise, characters may become unstoppable murder hobos with no life skills for surviving in society. But this is not an official rule, this is just my personal recommendation. Let's talk about the sheets that will be useful to have at your table. First up is the action complexity table. Not everyone needs this at all times, so it's best just to get it and throw a couple of them in the middle of the table. On the other side, I like to put the combat checklist, because again, not everyone needs it at all times. Another good one to throw in the middle of the table is the movement modes, movement costs, and terrain modifiers handout. However, these two sheets people should have all the time. If a player is moving their character about the map, they need these two sheets up to know what their movement rates are and penalties. But once the player begins to attack, they should flip these over to have the basic combat modifiers table and this to track their combat modifiers and track damage, and so on. And once a player is receiving damage, they should have these flipped up to track the damage and penalties they are receiving. Since I am playing two characters at once, I will grab these sheets as I need them. I color-coded my character sheets to help me keep them straight. Officer Fred will have the blue die, Thug Bob will have the red die. Occasionally I will pull these up and I will track ammunition expenditure here on or off screen. Let's begin. Thug Bob is there, Officer Fred is there. The initiative phase comes first. Time to roll. Officer Fred got a 10 and 1. Thug Bob got a 6 and lost. We are playing at the 2 meter per hex scale. Officer Fred has a walking movement rate of 10 meters per turn, which then becomes 5 MP. He has a running rate of 20 meters per turn, which becomes 10 MP. Let's see where Officer Fred can go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Officer Fred ran, so he will get a black die. He moved 18 meters, I believe. Let's check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. That is between 10 and 45 meters, so he gets a -1 target movement modifier and will have 1 pip up on his movement die. Running was a simple action, so Officer Fred has 5 incidental actions and 1 simple action left. As an incidental action, Officer Fred can go prone. And with his remaining simple action, he can use his small arm skill to fire the Magnum auto pistol at Thug Bob. Let's add up the modifiers. First is range. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. They are 18 meters away, which is medium range for this weapon. Medium range comes with a -2 penalty. Target cover. The target has no cover. Attacker movement. Officer Fred has a black die indicating that he ran, which comes with a -2. Target movement. Thug Bob has 6 pips up, indicating a target movement modifier of 0. Target size. Everything on the board is an adult human, size medium, comes with a +0. And then there's, I believe there's something for, no, that's it. That's the rest of it. Except for skill level, link, and weapon mod. The skill level is 4, which is linked to Dex. Dex has a link of 0, and the weapon mod has a -1 to attack roll. So that's 4 plus 0 minus 1. 3. Alright, so that's -4 plus 3 is -1. Let's see if Officer Fred can hit anything. Nope. No, that is an automatic fail. We need to remember to track ammunition. And that is Officer Fred's turn. It is now Thug Bob's turn. He has the same movement rates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a walking movement rate, so he'll get a white die. And he went 2, 4, 6, 8 meters, which is not far enough to get a target movement modifier other than 0. So white die, Bob walked, 6 pips, target movement modifier of 0. As an incidental action, Thug Bob can go prone. So far, Thug Bob has taken 1 incidental action and a second incidental action for walking. Walking and going prone are both incidental. That leaves 2 simple actions remaining. So Thug Bob can fire his small arms gun twice. First up is the range. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 meters away is medium range. -2. Target cover. The target is in light woods, which provides light cover, which is a -1. Attacker movement. The attacker walked. We know that because of the white die, which provides a -1. Target movement. Officer Fred has 1 pip up, -1. Target size is 0. And the target is also prone. Target prone, which adds a -1. And then we add the skill, link, and weapon mod. Okay. This is going to be a heck of a shot. That's -6 plus 3 is -3. Can Thug Bob hit? Nope. We got an 8 on the die. -3 plus 8 is 5. The TN was 7. 5 minus 7 is -2. Missed by 2. Again, didn't need to do all the math once we realized we weren't going to hit the TN. But wait a minute. Thug Bob gets another shot. Track ammo. Nine. That's still not going to be quite good enough, is it? Because the modified roll is a 6. Still missed. I'm tracking ammo off screen. Alright, the action phase is over. We enter the end phase. Nobody took any damage or anything really happened, so nothing happens. Now we go back up to the initiative phase. Alright, Thug Bob got a 9, Officer Fred a 5. Thug Bob wins initiative. And I think he's going to stay put and fire twice. Range is still medium. Target cover still -1. Attacker movement is now a 0. Target movement. You notice I left the movement die there in the end phase. That was intentional. The movement die doesn't change until you move and actually change the movement rate again. So that's why I switched to the blue die now, and I left that black die there. Because Officer Fred still has that -1 target movement modifier. And the target's prone. 3, and there we go. So all these guys, that's a -5, plus 3, it's -2 roll modifier. That's a 9. -2 plus 9 is 7. Target number 7. MOS 0. We got a hit. Track ammunition. Now we go up to the standard damage table. First thing we want to put in is the weapon damage, which is the weapon's base damage of 5. Plus the attacker's MOS divided by 4, which is 0 divided by 4. That's a 0. So 5 plus 0 is 5. Now why did we do that? Why do we have to divide by 4? All this formula is saying is that for every 4 points of MOS we get, we do an extra point of damage. And any fractions we round down. Now we need to compare the weapon's armor penetration, which is a 3 ballistic, against Officer Fred's armor. Officer Fred's armor is a 4 against ballistic. And we see that the bar is greater than the AP. So Officer Fred's armor is 1 stronger than Thug Bob's weapon. Accordingly, the damage of 5 will be reduced by 1. That's how it works conceptually. I have a logical formula right here, which is the standard damage is reduced by the difference between the bar and the AP. 4. So Officer Fred takes 4 points of damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whenever you take standard damage, you suffer 1 point of fatigue and stun effects. Now, because Officer Fred took damage, we have to check his back. It's BACK. B is for bleeding. Note: only make a bleeding check if the character takes damage in excess of half their BOD score rounded up. Bob and Fred must take more than 3 damage to make a bleeding check. This happens every time they take damage in this video. The bleeding check is a 2d6 roll plus his BOD score, which is 6, and that has to meet or beat a 12. It is an unmodified BOD attribute check. Let's see if Officer Fred is bleeding. 6. Ooh, just not bleeding, because that's 6 plus 6, which is equal to 12, which meets or beats 12. Officer Fred is not bleeding. Next is armor degradation. If Officer Fred had taken 5 or more points of armor defeating damage, all of his bar values on his armor would have degraded by 1. This didn't happen, so he's fine. After that is consciousness check, C. Whenever you take standard damage, you have to make a consciousness check. And that's a 2d6 roll, plus the will link mod, which is 1, plus any damage penalties, which here is -2, and that must meet or beat a 7. Let's see if Officer Fred is conscious. All right, 6, 7, 8. That's an 8 minus 1, which equals 7. Ooh, just barely conscious, just barely hanging in there. All right, and the last thing on checking our back is K for knockdown check, but that's optional, so we're not using it. But it's there because it spells back. Okay, that was the first shot that Thug Bob gets. Now it's time for his second shot. There is a slight change to the modifiers because the target is now stunned. What is the modifier for a stunned target? Here it is. Target stunned or surprised. +2. Okay, so this becomes 5. So we now have -5 plus 5, which is 0. Let's see if Officer Fred gets shot again. Yup. That's a 7. Another MOS of 0. So again, we don't really need to do this. We know he's not getting an extra point of damage. So it's just 5. 5, we already know all this because it hasn't changed. Officer Fred takes 4 more points of damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another point of fatigue damage, already stunned. And now we have to check Officer Fred's back again. All right, bleeding chick. Oh, we got 6 again. 6 plus his bot score of 6 is 12. That's what he needs to meet or beat to pass the bleeding check. So he's not bleeding. Consciousness check. All right, that's 9 plus his will link mod of 1 plus the damage penalties, which is now -3. What is that? That's 10 minus 3, which is 7, which still meets or beats 7, the target number. He's not unconscious. He's still conscious. Officer Fred is still with us. Armor's fine. Track and ammo. All right, and that is Thug Bob's turn. It's now time for Officer Fred to retaliate. Officer Fred is going to stay still. Range is still medium, -2. Target cover, light woods gives a -1, right? Yep. Attacker movement mod, he didn't move because of the blue die, 0. Target movement, 0. Target size, 0. Attacker action and conditions. Because of all this damage, Officer Fred has a -3 to hit things, and that affects his movement rates. His walking rate was a 10, it's now a 7. Running was a 20, it's now a 17. To get that into MP, we divide it in half and round up. So that becomes 4 and 8.5, which rounds up to 9. I think that's right. That's what it is. So we put a -3 here. Target is prone. So -1. And one thing Officer Fred has to do is use a simple action to shake off that stun, because you can't make a ranged attack whilst stunned. So Officer Fred can only fire once this turn. And I think that's it. All right, let's add up the modifiers. So 3, 6, 7. -7 plus 3 is 4. -4. All right, 2d6 roll time. 6, nope. Oh, that's a miss. Missed by a lot. Track ammo. All right, that's it for the action phase. End phase. If anyone was bleeding, we would track bleeding damage. If anyone was unconscious, we might do something. Whenever a player starts the round unconscious, we make a consciousness check, but no one is unconscious at all, so we don't need to make one. So back up to the initiative phase. Thug Bob won initiative again. All right, Thug Bob's going to stay put. Medium range is -2. Target cover, -1, 0, 0, 0, 0. There's a -1 for prone. And then 3. And that's it. -4 plus the 3, -1. Seven. Nope, that's a miss. Time for the second shot. And that's a miss. Track and ammo. He's going to fire twice. So range, -2. Target cover, -1. Attacker movement, 0. Target movement, 0. Target size, 0. -3 for the attacker actions and conditions. And -1 for target being prone. And 3. And that's it. So that's... Wow, that's a lot. That's 3, 6... Yeah, -7 plus 3. Still -1. No, 4. Sorry. -7 plus 3 is -4. 7. That's a miss. He gets another shot. 6. That's a miss. Track and ammo. All right. Nothing happens in the end phase now. Back to the initiative phase. Did Thug Bob win initiative again? Yes, he did. Okay, Thug Bob's tired of this game. He's going to get up and get in a little closer. Cost him 2 MP to stand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He is getting right up in there. He walked. He moved 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 meters, which gets him a -1 target movement modifier. Now he's going to fire twice. Range, I don't think they're quite at point blank range. Let me check that. Okay, point blank range. Any target that lies within 1 meter of an attack is considered to be at point blank range for a ranged weapon attack. They aren't really within 1 meter because each hex is 2 meters. So the range is just short. It's going to be +0. Target cover still -1. Attacker movement -1 for walking. Target movement 0. Target size 0. Attacker actions and conditions 0. Miscellaneous. He's prone. All right, and then 3. So total roll mods of 0. 4. Nope, that's a miss. Second shot. 5. That's a miss. Tracking ammo. Okay, now it's Officer Fred's turn. He's just going to stay still. Range 0. Target cover 0. Attacker movement 0. Target movement is -1. Target size 0. -3 for all the damage. And I believe that's it. So that becomes -1. Nine. Finally, a high roll. -1 plus 9 is 8. Target number 7. MOS 1. Weapon base damage is 5. Plus 1 over 4. We round that fraction down, so this just becomes 5. All right. The AP for the weapon is still 3. The bar on Thug Bob is 4, so the damage is getting reduced by 1. 5 minus 4 minus 3 equals 4. Thug Bob takes 4 points of damage. 1 point of fatigue, 1 point of stun. Now we check Thug Bob's back. Okay, bleeding check. That's a 7, plus the bot score of 6 is 13, which beats a 12. He's not bleeding. Consciousness check. That's going to be the 2d6 roll, plus the will link of 1, minus 2 for the damage penalties. Got a meter beat a 7. Nope, that's a 6 minus 1, which is less than 7. Thug Bob is unconscious. Oh no. Time to track ammo. And now Officer Fred gets another shot. But the modifiers have changed slightly. Because the target is immobile. Immobile adds a plus 4. So this becomes a roll mod of just 3. Let's see if Officer Fred can hit. Five. All right, 3 plus 5 is 8. Target number 7, succeeded by 1. All the damage is the same. It's still going to be 4 for the same reasons it was before. Thug Bob takes 4 points of damage. 1 point of fatigue. We got to check Thug Bob's back. Is Thug Bob bleeding? No. That's a 16 on the bleeding check. Definitely meter beats 12. Thug Bob's already unconscious, so we don't need to check for that. Armor degradation. He only took 4 points of damage, which isn't 5, so the armor doesn't degrade. But we should track the condition modifier, because he's now at 1, 2, 3, -3 standard damage, which takes the walking rate down to 7, and the running down to 17, which becomes a 4 and a 9, because we divide that by 2, round up. Now for the end phase, nobody's bleeding, so we don't track that continuous damage. Nobody started this round unconscious, so we don't make any consciousness checks. We go back up to the initiative phase. Six, 7, 8. And Officer Fred won initiative. Not that it matters, because Thug Bob's unconscious. Now, Officer Fred probably could cuff Thug Bob at this point. Do you think he should? Or should he just finish him? Could be a lot of paperwork. Now, Officer Fred's just going to get up and cuff Thug Bob. He doesn't want the paperwork of killing him.